Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. How is everybody doing? I hope everybody's having a great day. I always like to start my lives off with my coffee. I got my coffee. Let's go. Now, if this is your first time tuning in to JW Live, welcome. And today, the topic is real talk. Let's talk. Let's have a discussion. Now, I always share that, I talk about my experience more so than my opinion. Sometimes a little opinion could be thrown in there, tossed in there. But for the most part, I share my experience because my opinion, we can debate all day long. So I prefer to share my experience. Although, again, sometimes a little opinion gets thrown in there. First thing I want to touch on, and I'm going to touch on various topics. I might be a little all over the place, a little scattered. But the first thing I want to touch on is prayer. Now, I know some of you probably say, okay, well, prayer, what's the big deal? We hear about prayer all the time. We hear people talk about prayer all the time. But the type of prayer that I want to talk about today is the prayer before you sup. The prayer when you sit down with the meal, and I know very few people take time to bless their food when they sit down to eat. And the reason I'm mentioning that is because prayer and blessing your food is very, very important if you're a person that prays. And the reason I say that is because when you sit down and eat, and let me speak for myself. Whenever I sit down and eat a meal, I always bless my food. I always pray over it. And I'm always grateful for that meal that I'm about to receive, for the mere fact I know what it is to be hungry. I know what it is to miss a meal. I know what it is to eat some things that aren't necessarily my flavor, my choice. I know what that is. So each meal that I'm blessed with, I pray over it. And I'm thankful and I'm grateful for that meal because there's somebody out there that's starving. There's somebody out there right now that doesn't have this meal. And for whatever reason, God has placed me in a position to be sitting down, eating a meal that I chose to eat. There were some times that I didn't have a choice. Now, I know that that's not some of you guys's. I know that's not some of your story or history. But that's my history. My history is that I have sat down and ate some meals that I had no choice over eating, times that I was incarcerated, times that I was homeless. I know what it is to go or to eat something that wasn't necessarily my choice dish. So let me just get that out of the way real quick. Prayer, blessing your food. I think that a lot of us should take in consideration more when we're blessed with certain meals that we chose, that only by the grace of God that we were allowed to sit down and eat this fabulous meal or this great meal. And I hear people complain all the time about, oh, this wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be, or I don't like their cooking, or I don't like this and I don't like that. But hey, man, let's just be grateful that we have an opportunity to sit down and eat a meal that we chose. The other thing I want to touch on is this. White women. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, why are you choosing to talk about white women, Jonathan? And there's a lot of people that feel like people shouldn't interracially mix and white people shouldn't date black people shouldn't date white people. And hey, listen, man, whatever you choose is your choice. If you're in love and that person does it for you, hey, man, that's perfectly fine. But let me just talk to white women for a minute, just for a second, because I think that there are a lot of white women that are disillusioned, and some of the disillusionment has been caused by some black men that date white women. But let me explain something to you about some of us black men that chooses to go outside of our race and date white women. Now, first of all, let me just give you a quick backstory regarding me. I've dated several white women. I've dated Spanish women. I've dated white women. I've dated, I've dated different women of different races. I have. Now, some black women, they say, well, Jonathan, man, all you date is white women, or you shouldn't do it, blah, 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 blah. Let me just say this. Let me explain something to you. Me personally, I love beautiful women. I don't care whether you're black, white, Chinese, Spanish, wherever you, African. I love beautiful women. So I have dated women of all races. I have. But let me just get back to white women, because some white women are under the impression that because they're white, they're entitled, or black men are just wanting to date you. And let me just say this. There is a particular black man like myself that if I date a white woman, I don't want a white woman that white men don't want. I don't want a white woman that's been tossed by the wayside of her people, of other white people. That is not, if I date a white woman, that is not the white woman that I particularly choose to date. Is some white woman that, not even white guys want. Now, are there some ratchet white women that, maybe some ratchet black guys, find appealing or attractive? That's perfectly fine. But what I'm saying to you is that for me personally, hey man, if I date a white woman, I would prefer that she's just whiter than white, because this is what I do know from my experience of dating interracially. This is what I do know is that a lot of people refuse to understand that there are some pros if you're in a relationship interracially. So let's say, for instance, here I am, a black guy, and I'm dating a white woman. What I do know is this, is that if we are going to go that route and we're in a relationship, what I do know is this. There are some doors, and this is what we need to take advantage of if we are dating interracially. And this is why, me personally, I don't want some hood rat white chick if I date a white woman. If I date a white woman, I want a white woman that's as white as snow. I mean, culturally. Now, why I say that is because we need to, if we're dating interracially, be able to take advantage of the opportunities. And take advantage of the opportunities is simply, there are going to be some doors you as a white woman that are able to walk through a lot faster and a lot quicker than I'm able to walk through. Yeah, like some financial institutions. Yeah. There's going to be like some government situations. There's going to be, you're going to be able to take advantage. Now, we're a couple. Me as a black man, I should understand that and utilize that to the best of our ability as a couple. There are going to be some doors, me as a black man, that I'm able to walk through so much more so than my white counterpart or my mate. Yeah. See, those are things that we're able to take advantage of. Now, in my opinion, the only negative behind that is the fact that the only negative behind dating interracially, most of it is just ignorance, to be honest. Now, I know some people are going to beg to differ, and that's perfectly fine. I'm not here to say I know it all and I have all the answers and or any of that stuff. But what I'm saying is based on my experiences that what I've known is that if I do choose to date interracially, man, I want to take full advantage of being in an interracial relationship, right? Because if we, we might truly love each other, but we also have to utilize common sense and strategize as well. And in that strategy, I need to understand that if my significant other or the woman that I'm dating happens to be of a different race, I need to be able to take full advantage of the fact that she is who she is and I am who I am, and not allow my ego or my male dominance or my alpha behavior to blind me or block me from being able to take full advantage of those situations. So, white women, let me just explain, we ain't looking for the hood rat. We ain't looking for the white chick that can twerk and shake her butt and do all that stuff, right? If I want all that, I'll go get my Quisha, if that be the case. See, for me personally, I'm not even looking for, I don't even want to date a black woman that carries themselves that way. Because we live in a tough world, man. And twerking and betraying this hood mentality, man, is only going to stagnate us as a couple. It's only going to hold us back, man. This is a tough world, man. I need my counterpart to, and I'm one of those guys, I don't mind listening to a woman and the way that they might view something that might help us as a couple. I'm not so manly that, oh no, I'm the man and everything I say is right. No, I don't believe that. That's not how I operate. Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. So let me just get that out of the way for white women. Because again, I know a lot of white women, and I know a lot of people that are dating interracially. And I know a lot of people, fail to understand that concept of that or that idea. That, when you're dating interracially, man, it's all fun. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's dandy. But, man, until we learn to take advantage of dating interracially, if that's what we choose. Because, again, some people feel as though that blacks should never date whites and whites should never date whites. And that's perfectly fine. I'm not here to say that it's right, it's wrong. I'm not here to say any of that. All I'm saying is that who you like is who you like. And if at the time in my life I meet the right white woman, hey, I might date her. If I meet the right black woman, hey, I might date her. If I meet the right Chinese woman, hey, I might date her. I'm just telling you, I love beautiful women. That's all I'm saying. But again, I'm just addressing these white women that don't be under the disillusionment that, hey, man, black guys just want me because I'm white, man. That's some of those guys. But, man, if you ain't, listen, for me in my house, if you're a white woman, man, I prefer that you be as white, man, because I need you to be able to talk to some folks that I might not be able to talk to, right? When it comes to our relationship and the growth of our relationship, like we have to strategize because we live in a tough world. Now, another thing I want to talk about today is I want to talk about leadership. And when I talk about leadership, I'm talking about leadership from different levels. Leadership when it comes to friend, when it comes to when it comes to the people that your generation of people you've gone to school with, whatever the case may be, but leadership. Now, as for me, personally, I'm not following anyone that hasn't crawled, scratched, fought their way out of anything. If you're going to lead me. See, there are some folk out there that have been placed in the position of leadership based upon favoritism by man and who they are, and might not have any leadership skills whatsoever. I'm just telling you, as far as Jonathan's concerned, if I am going to follow somebody, man, they better know what it is to have gone through some things, knowing what it is to come out of some things. And see, because a lot of times people think that when I share things, it's just basically about people who are on drugs or who are, alcoholics and stuff. No, I share life skills. These things can be applied. These things can be, anybody can take advantage of, the things that I share. Anybody. You don't have to be a drug addict or an alcoholic. You can just, as long as you're a human being. I'd hope that you can identify and relate with some of the things that I talk about. And when I talk about leadership, man, I'm just saying, as far for Jonathan, I'd prefer that you're an individual that you know what it is to come out of some things. And that doesn't necessarily, again, have to be drugs and alcohol, man. It's whatever it is, because we all have our trials and tribulations. We all have things that we've gone through that have been tough, right? And I'm just saying, as long as you're an individual that have gone through some things and you know what it is to come out of some things, right? See, you can tell me something, man. Yeah. See, I'm a firm believer that any presidential candidate that goes on to win the election and becomes president, and please understand that I'm not talking about any specific candidate. I'm talking about as a whole. I'm generally speaking. I'm just saying, as far as for Jonathan, because I very rarely do the political thing. I don't get caught up in the politics, my views, or who I voted for or anything. So, but on this topic, basically, I'm talking about some political things, and I'm a firm believer that any political candidate that becomes the president should have served in the military, or either have worked hand in hand with the military, or have some idea of what it is to be a military personnel. And the reason I say that is because, listen, so you're at the highest point of our government. You're the most powerful person in the United States of America. So you're the commander or chief. You're the commander and chief. I'm sorry. You're the commander in chief. So what that means is that you make decisions based on war. I mean, that isn't the only thing that you do, but I'm just saying, you're the commander in chief. You make decisions based on whether we should invade a country, whether, people should be allowed here, or what happens if somebody invades us. You make these decisions. And I'm just saying that personally, I would like for my president, the president of the United States, to understand how that works from the inside, not from the outside looking in. I'm just saying, that's just my belief. I believe that you're the commander in chief, and it gives you, not only does it give it gives a person a different respect for what our military people do. It also might have some bearing on decisions made when it comes to war, or when it comes to the world as a whole. It might give you a different perspective, different idea about the military. And that's just my belief, But overall, leadership for me, man, I'm just saying, if you're a person that's never had any true struggles or challenges and know what it is to come out of it, and come out on the other side, I'm just saying that I'm one of those people that, I'm not going to necessarily follow you into anything. The only thing you can direct me to is where the bathroom is if I'm at a restaurant, You know, I'm just saying, as far as for me and my house, man, I'm not following anybody that doesn't know what it is to overcome or who doesn't know what it is to struggle and come out on the other side. I'm just saying that's my view on it. So again, today's topic is just, let's talk, man. Real talk. Let's have a conversation. I'm just saying, these are my viewpoints, and a lot of it's based on experience. It's a little bit of opinionated today, but the majority of it is based on my experience, not necessarily my opinion. Life is tough. Life gets tough. It's a roller coaster. Some days are better than others. But no day is worth you throwing your freedom away, throwing your life away. No day is worth you ending it all. Not one day. I'll tell you something. We suffer from a malady, a spiritual malady, a disconnect from God. We are living in times either he's going to get our attention by what's going on, and we're going to look at some things and make some changes, or we're going to continue to do the same thing we've always done. I had a guy on social media the other day, and this guy ripped me apart, man, when it came to me talking about some biblical things and me talking about the God that I believe in. This guy ripped me apart, man. He literally cursed me out. He said, I read that Bible and it was a bunch of crap and I threw it in the trash. It's not the Bible and the words that are in the Bible. It's the spiritual connection that matters when it comes to the Bible. It's a spiritual connection. This guy ripped me apart, man. I say this all the time. See, and I'm going to end today's live with this. Somebody also asked me, a good friend of mine, she said, well, Jonathan, why does your profile picture have a picture of you and then it has a Mercedes-Benz in the background? And I explained to her, I said, let me explain something to you. I said, for a person like myself, I said, most of us are from Missouri, the show me state. Most of us have to see some things before we'll even stop and even contemplate listening to what someone has to say. Unfortunately, that's just the way we are as human beings. Most of us, man, if you ain't hitting on nothing, if you ain't got nothing going on, that's why it's so difficult for people to receive a word or a message from a person that's laying out on the street, or a person that might be alcoholic that God may have given them a word for you. A lot of people can't receive that message from that individual because they're looking at the present circumstance. So my story is that, listen, if you would have thought that just over 7 years ago, that this individual who was sleeping on the floor of the post office, who was sleeping on bus benches, if you had, not even myself would have ever thought that not only would I have a roof over my head, but I would be driving my own car, period. So it might not seem like much for you, but to me, it's amazing. It blows my mind to this day. So I said that to say this. See, a lot of us, when it comes to receiving a message, we need to see some things because it's our humanness. See, our humanness, can God's spirit come inside of us and awaken us and we receive some things of God? Absolutely. But most of us are human beings And we have to see some things first. Now, once we see those things that, right, so that's almost like that's the bait that you throw out in the water to catch the fish. Once we see some things, then we might be attuned to listen to some things that this individual has to talk about. So for me, it's personal. It's all personal. Because for the life of me, I would never in a million years would I have ever imagined that I would come from being under the ground, being, people talk about bottom. See, I was under bottom. And in a million years, you could have never told me that my life would be where it is now, that things would be happening in my life the way they are now. Never in a million years. And guess what? I'm here to tell you, if you're a hater, I'm here to tell you, if you got beef with it, I'm here to tell you, man, take that up with God, not Jonathan, because it's his doing. And I'm here to tell you that, man, this is only the beginning. Now, I said that to say this about the guy that told me, oh, in the Bible and God and these were his exact words. He told me, he said, that's the dumbest shit that I have ever heard. Now, see how I see that is this. Just over 7 years ago, when this sobriety thing started, I came from nothing. See, I know both sides of the coin. I know what it is to be raised as a child, to have everything in the world, to be the spoiled, rotten kid that wants for nothing, and then to be an adult and have absolutely nothing. I know what that is. Now, how I look at it and what I explain to people that want to, that encourage argument or want to debate about who God is or who he isn't. See, what I explain to people is this, and I keep it simple because I believe that the God that I serve is simple. And perfection is simplicity, and simplicity is perfection. And I believe that he is simplistic. He doesn't, when he tells me a word or gives me a word, he doesn't come out some eloquent and I got to figure it out and it's all complicated and I don't know what the heck's going on. And I'm sitting here scratching my head or rubbing my leg like a cricket when it comes to the God that I serve. That's just what I believe. But let me explain something to you. Just over 7 years ago, see, none of these people were there. Nobody created a GoFundMe for Jonathan Harris at the beginning when I started out in the race. Nobody. See, there was one that was there. That one was God. And see, in the process of me getting sober, in the process of me living the life that I live today, he also sent some folk to help me along in that journey. He blessed me with some people that helped me along in this journey. Now, he didn't just send people to help me, but he sent me to also help people. But my point is that when people debate who God is or the Bible is all foolery, I'm just saying, I read a chapter in the Bible every single morning. I pray to God every single morning. I help others when I get an opportunity. And what I can tell you, in just over 7 years since I have been doing that, some things have changed. See, none of those people that's debating with me or that's arguing about whether there's a God or whether the Bible is true or whether it's fake has given me an alternative. Not one of those individuals. None of those individuals have shown me. See, I have receipts behind believing in what I believe in. None of those individuals, none of them, none of those people came when the rent was behind, or I was almost put out, or I almost lost my place, or this happened or that happened. None of those individuals were there. See, until you're in a place that you can say that you've personally helped me out in the situation, You're not going to debate with me about the God that I serve, because what I do know is that there were times when nobody was there and he was there. What I can tell you is that a lot of the situations that I've gone through in this short 7 years, what I can tell you is that somehow I've come out of them, and some things have been just looked magical. I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't put my finger on it. I can't even explain it. Yeah. This guy literally he tore me apart. He cursed me out. He cursed the Bible. Listen, man, I'm not here to debate with anybody about what they believe in or what works for them. What I'm simply telling you is that what has worked for Jonathan. I have not. Listen, there's been a plug in the bottom of the boat for almost 7 years. The boat has not sank in almost 7 years. I'm not saying that I haven't experienced some rough times or some hard times or some times I've gone through and sometimes I didn't know where it was going to come from or what was going to happen. Absolutely. But what I can tell you is that he's an on-time God, man. He always came. Let me tell you, my mom passed away. I know what I was going to do, because my stronghold, the person that I would call, for all the advice in the world, smart woman, is gone. It's gone. But what I can tell you is that at that particular time, he sent somebody to me for a season. And this person was significant in my life. Yes. See, when you serve him and you work for him, don't be surprised who he might send. Sometimes who he sends don't look like or you think that it's who it should be, and it's the least person that you even expect to come along when you work for him. They can't explain it. You can't explain it. You might think that you know why. They might think that they know why. They might even feel like they might even have some or feel like they have some hatred or some disdain or some dislike for you. God is powerful, man. God is powerful. He will take the least likely person that you expect when you work for him to come into your life. The key is to remember that we are all just stewards over anything that we have. See, the beauty that God has given me is this. Thank God I'm not an individual that looks at my friends or people for what they have and they get a pass. See, a lot of folks are getting a pass because of who they are, because of what they possess. They don't get the same treatment as somebody else who might be of less material or less wealth. I treat all my friends the same, and I treat people the same way. I don't care if you driving a Toyota or if you driving a Maserati, if you got a Beamer or if you got a Benz. Let me tell you something. You do not get a pass from me. I treat everybody the same way, man. And unfortunately, some people value people that have things, and they get away with a lot more than somebody who doesn't have as much. They get away with it, man, when it comes to people. And I'm going to end with this with you people, because I want to make it perfectly clear to you. See, when you're dealing with me, you're not dealing with the perfect man, but you're dealing with a God-fearing man. Far from perfect. But what I can tell you, and I'll say this, for any woman that's rejected my advances, thank you. Any one of my friends that were friends that have listened to the side talk or the conversation that I wasn't present in, and you've run with that, and you judge me based on those conversations, and you consider yourself no longer my friend, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you. See, God needs to make room for the real ones. Yeah, he needs to make room for the real ones, for the people that are really my friends or the women that are really for me. He needs some room. He got to make room. See, it's some folk that have had some conversation with other folk And they were supposedly my friends. Not one of those individuals have come to me one time and asked me my side of the story, because there's always three sides to every story. It's their side, your side, and the truth. Not one of those individuals have ever come to me and said, well, Jonathan, what do you say about this? No, they took the information that they've heard from somebody who's an enemy and they ran with it. So to you people, I say thank you. God bless you. Thank you. Because a lot of times people let you know who you are in Christ when they heavily crucify you and judge you. There is but only one that has ever gotten on the cross. Stop putting me on the cross. I am not equipped. I am not created. I am not made up. I am not perfect enough to be put on that cross. Don't put me on the cross if you can't go up there with me. But anyway, I just wanted to come on here and share a few things. I know it was kind of scattered and all over the place. Today it wasn't just one main topic. I touched on a few different things, but I appreciate everybody who tunes in, everybody that supports me, everybody that tunes in to JW Live. Listen, I love you guys, and until we talk again, peace.